So let's have that honest conversation as to what it really takes to change your swing. You know, swings often don't change in 3 steps, in 1 minute, in 5 swings, cure your slice in, you know, in one simple formula. You know, sometimes if you've got the concept wrong and you're trying to do the wrong thing, then, you know, a quick change of concept can make a really big difference, and you can change some things very quickly. But most commonly, we have a really kind of inbuilt pattern, an ingrained pattern that needs to change, and it changes slowly over time through the right process. Now, in this video, I'm going to show you how I went about changing a lifelong pattern that I've had, well, literally since I've started playing golf, and it has plagued me forever. So this is going to be a really honest, warts and all, journey through some technical changes, and hopefully you'll get some encouragement from that, and you'll see that things can change if you go about it in the right way. Okay, so here's the actual technical bit, and why it was such a problem for me. I've been working on making certain moves in my transition for a long time. We'd all like to sort of move better in transition and move the legs better and create more energy, etc. But I've struggled over the years because as much as I've been trying to work on transition, I've actually not prepared myself very well with a good backswing. I have never turned my body well in such a place that is solid, composed and balanced, and, you know, and in the right place, and then trying to create energy from the top when you're in a compromised position. Wow, I mean, that is a recipe for certainly inconsistency. That I've had this problem for 10, maybe 20 years, but it's something I've been working on a lot, and I'm going to show you how. So first of all, what is the problem? So in my backswing, I would typically not make a very good turn from my rib cage. So I would sort of turn, and it would all come from my hips, and that doesn't feel very stable at all. And then from there, I would drive my hips, and as I drive my hips, can you see the sort of crumpled nature of the knees? This knee would turn internally, and this hip staying high, putting huge pressure on my hips and getting the club really steep in the downswing. And some days I'd make it work because I hit enough balls, basically. But eventually it led to a hip injury, etc. So let me see if I can make one of the old swings then. So there's not much turn, and then there's a really kind of sloppy pattern with the knees. Oh, that felt familiar. That was far too easy to get back into. But what it did give me, I felt compression. As I crumpled this knee and kept this hip high, I could really drive down on it. And I guess that's how the pattern kind of evolved. You know, I had an intention of creating impression and rotational speed, and left to my own devices, that's how I've created it. But it doesn't come without its issues. So first things first, I mean, I needed to make sure that I had the actual mobility to be able to make a backswing. You know, is it a physiological issue that I can't turn, or is it just a learned movement pattern? So, I mean, I have been going to the gym. I've been seeing a trainer based around a separate kind of back injury. So I'm pretty confident through the exercises that I've been doing, I've got the mobility now. But just because I have the mobility doesn't mean I'm going to use it. I've got sort of increased options, if you like, through better mobility, but I've still got the constraints of my old movement pattern. You know, the pattern that I've learnt and grown with and been, you know, moderately successful hitting golf balls at. That doesn't change just because I've now got increased mobility. So I need to do some exercises and some drills. So you'll see on the channel some of the exercises that I've done in trying to create a better rotation. And it's been about trying to kind of explore different ideas and challenge my motor system in a different way. So rotation happens in different ways. You can feel rotation in a front to back perspective. If I just get my arm and I push it across me as much as possible, then that really creates this lovely motion of my left shoulder moving across to the right. And if we're going to rotate well, you know, that's what needs to happen. We don't want to rotate around a sort of pivot point over here. So there's been lots of sort of exercises around that, getting the left shoulder moving over this way. And in doing so, as the left shoulder moves to the right hip is moving back behind me. So I started down that journey, but then it became very clear that as I was trying to do this, I would kind of get halfway back and then want to rush into my backswing. So I needed more time. And I think time is probably one of the hardest things to bring into your swing, and probably one of the things that we work on the least. So the time element was me hitting some shots where I go all the way to the top of the swing and build in a sense of composure and awareness and comfort, just being at the top of the swing for a second or two. Now that exercise of pausing at the top for a second or two has given me a much better sense of awareness as to where I am, changed the whole timing of the swing, which is very difficult to do, and I've become much more aware and composed at the top of the swing. It's given me time to be able to kind of sneak into that kind of room between trigger and response and actually change the motion of my legs in the downswing. So what I mean by that is I would get kind of near the top of the swing, and like most good swings, the legs would start to move down before the club gets to the top. But I would do that in a really kind of sloppy way, as we mentioned, with this internal knee and hip situation. Now I'm taking the time to stop at the top, I can actually start to feel the left leg working out while the right knee drops forwards, and that of course is leveling my hips, and it shallows out the club. Without that time at the top and actually really kind of mindfully getting into that space, lots of repetition, I don't think that would ever change. And I've had that situation, that kind of swing flaw characteristic, if you like, for a very long time. I'm talking 10, 15 years. So, you know, to change it, I'm going to need to, and I have been, taking my time, lots of repetitions, filming it. I mean, you need the feedback. So you're going to need time, repetition, feedback and awareness. You need that kind of heightened awareness that comes from really kind of mindfully going about your business. Now, you know, in all of this process, have I really been concerned with the balls going? No, I've hit it all over the place, some straight, some days straight, some not. But I mean, I have that luxury. I'm not playing golf for a living. I'm not in a tournament tomorrow. But this at the moment, at least, is more important to me than the game of golf I'm having tomorrow. That doesn't mean if I had a game, I mean, I've just literally come off a links trip, and I didn't spend ages on every tee going through a whole swing rehearsal. I kind of parked it for 3 days, played golf, and now I'm back in the process. But the process takes time, repetition, awareness, and feedback. So each week I will go through the same process, the same kind of familiar drills, getting into that kind of same sequence. And what I've noticed is each time I come back to it, it's not as good as when I left it. And that's what you'll notice when you make a swing change. You'll leave it looking pretty good, feeling good about yourself, and then you'll come back to it, as people do with their lessons, and it's kind of back to where we were, but not quite. But also, as you come back to it, it's far easier to fix because you've fixed it once before, or you've started making those changes once before. Each time you kind of reinforce a new pattern, you can then quickly get back into it the next time when it slips, and it will continue to slip because it's a really old, sticky movement pattern. And some patterns are harder to shift than others, and that doesn't say anything about you. Just the nature of our coordination system wants us to go down these well kind of trodden routes. Now, of course, all of this would have been made far easier had I have had a guide and a coach. I have had a little bit of advice along the way from some coaching buddies of mine. But if you want me to be your guide and you want some advice, so you're not kind of going from YouTube video to YouTube video, then I've put a link in the description where I can give you a free swing review, swing analysis, and hopefully that'll be the start of a longer term relationship when we can slowly guide your swing in the right direction. The funny thing is some students, and this happened to me recently, would say to me, thanks for the session or two, I think I know what I need to fix now. I'll let you know when I fixed it and I'll be back. Which is completely backwards. That is the role of the coach, is to help you kind of go through this process of changing what is a really kind of stable pattern. If you could do it on your own and it was just about information, that would be easy. But it's not. It's about all those other things, and the coach being able to catch you when you're kind of off track and obviously provide the right drills, etc. So there's a whole kind of process to go through. And if you want to see how you get from that swing change mentality, which is quite cognitive, into a much more fluid way of playing, then that's all about the flow drill, which is linked just down here. And as always, if you've enjoyed the video, please click subscribe, and I publish 1 or 2 videos each week. It'd be great to see you again next time.